Yeah, I'm glad you were able to do this. I wasn't totally sure if you lived in Missoula or if you were up the Flathead, or I wasn't exactly sure when I reached out.
No, I live in Missoula, unfortunately. Yeah. I was kind of surprised, though, like coming into Frenchtown, I never thought that there would be traffic here. But coming in off the freeway, because of the school, I guess, or whatever.
Oh, you hit it right at that.
Where everybody was.
Yeah, our little town has a messed up little situation where the elementary's on the south side of the interstate and the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And then the high school, junior high's on the north side, and there's one way to get across. And then the buses go drop kids off at the elementary, but then they all try to go to the junior high school at the same time, and they all have to stop at the tracks. And then
it's a stop sign, not like a...
Yeah. So it makes a complete shit show for like...
I don't think I've ever driven here that time frame. It's always like super early in the morning for hunting or, middle of the day or something.
There's about a 15, 20-minute stretch.
I bet.
It's actually hilarious that our town has traffic because it really actually doesn't. But
that's what I thought. I was like, this is weird for Frenchtown.
Yeah. No, every single day it's like a parade of school buses through the middle of town causing issues. Where did you grow up?
Idaho. So if you go on Highway 12 and then you cut up onto the high mountain prairie, there's a town called Winchester, and it's like 200 people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tiny little town. What'd your folks do there?
My dad worked in Lewiston. There's a lumber mill down there. It was Potlatch when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's something else now, Clearwater Paper, I think. And he always worked there. And then my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She homeschooled me and my brother, so we kept her busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had one sibling?
Yep. One older brother.
What kind of things were you into as a kid, like being homeschooled? Were you a long ways from town, or?
Well, we lived in town, and our house was like right in the middle of town, but you could see the edge of town from the middle of town. It was not very big 200
town. People. It's
pretty small.
Yeah.
I always said that they counted the dogs when they did that census.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was an odd kid, still odd. So I loved anything cowboys. I was really into like.
Oh, really?
Western, horses, hunting, outdoor stuff. My brother and I played outside. So my folks, we had this tiny little house growing up, and my dad, he was pretty good at building, but he's also pretty good at figuring stuff out on his own. So he decided he was going to build a house on his own. So as a kid in our backyard, my folks built this house, and that was fun for us. Like we got to be a part of all the different phases of that. They put in a basement, and we learned about pouring concrete and framing and doing siding and windows and all that stuff. So we did a lot of stuff like that as kids.
Was this kind of over a few years?
Yeah, because it was, he worked at the lumber mill, and he had a weird schedule. He worked 4 days on, and then he had 4 days off, and it was shift work. So he would just work on it as he had time, him and my mom. So it took a long time.
It's a little bit how my dad built our house. It didn't take that long, though, but it was a couple, I think it was a couple summers or a couple years, because we lived in town also, and they bought a little acreage just right on, kind of just out like a half mile outside of town. But he cleared all the trees, built the road into because I grew up in excavation, so he had the equipment to like build the road and do that stuff and kind of clear a house site because it was right in the heavy timber.
Very cool.
And then I remember helping a little bit. I not so much on the peeling the logs because I was really young. I remember peeling a little bit. Probably was mostly in the way.
Yeah.
But my dad built our log house that was supposed to kind of be a cabin when we originally built it, and they're still living in it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But kind of same thing. I remember I was probably 8 or 9, so I remember a fair amount of it. My dad out there pretty much like you say before and after work and weekends and
when he had time.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I was 7 when they broke ground on the basement. I remember, I think it was my birthday. And the guy that we knew that was, the local guy that had a backhoe came out and started digging the hole for the foundation. And
yeah. Why did you say you were a weird kid? What kind of things were you? Was it just because you were kind of more into like cowboy ranchy stuff and compared to other kids, or? Well,
yeah. I mean, being homeschooled makes you a little weird in the community. There was only a couple other families that had homeschool kids. And then I was a super tomboy. I always wanted to go out and ride bikes and do all that stuff. And there was one girl in town that I was friends with, and we were just polar opposites. She always wanted to play with dolls, and I would do it because that's what she wanted to do. But mostly I played with the boys in town, and we had, we played Cowboys and Indians, and rode our bikes and built jumps in the gravel road out front of the house. And that was the stuff I wanted to do. So
when did you start getting into the outdoor stuff, like hunting / survival stuff, or bushcrafty, any of that kind
I was
of stuff?
never into, it's like people assume that I was into like survival stuff, and I never really was. I just was into hunting because my dad hunted.
Yeah.
And he took me.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, I figured it probably started with hunting and being in the woods.
Yeah, so he would teach me, stuff that you need to know if you're out there and something happens and you get stuck or whatever. And we had 200 acres that was family property that was just 7 miles outside of town. So we would go out there all the time and cut wood or work on, there's an old ranch house that my great grandpa used to live in.
Wow.
It's been in the family now for a lot of generations. And so we'd go out and work on the old ranch house or clean up the spring they had dug out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, you'd learn a lot of things about being in the outdoors, just going out there and hanging out with my dad. And then he took me hunting when I was really little, and I loved it because he made it fun. He didn't make it hell.
It wasn't a death march trying to.
No.
Yeah.
He would take me out when he would go just out to call and try to locate elk or figure out where he was going to go for the opening day or whatever when I was really little. And he'd just sit me down in the grass and I'd listen to him call for elk. And it just built that fascination for nature in me and made me love the process. And then as I got older, he started taking me. He's there right now. Every year he goes for a couple of weeks for archery elk season. And he would take me with him and I'd run around the woods and we had a ball. And he just made it fun.
Yeah.
He had that that feeling about going out where it wasn't just the kill that was important. It was just being out there was the point.
Yeah.
And I really was drawn to that. And even now, like every year I'm going over there, not this weekend, but next weekend, just spend the weekend with him at elk camp. Cause it's like one of those things that we really bonded over when I was little.
Yeah.
And I don't want to miss a season. Cause I'm like, there's going to come a time where there aren't seasons anymore.
Right.
And I don't want to miss a single one. I wish I could go for the whole 2 weeks, but it's not possible.
Yeah.
Got kids, got a life, but
yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. I tell people with young kids, and I wished I would have done it even more. And we let sports consume us a little bit more now looking back than it's not like I really regret anything. I mean, my kids have all turned out great and they've got college scholarships and all this stuff with sports and, they're all doing great. But we felt, I think, especially because I coached a lot of it, kind of tied down to a 5th grade basketball team or a 4th grade football team or something where I probably should have just said, well, I know I'm the coach and he's the quarterback or she's the point guard, but we're going to be gone this weekend, because it gets harder when they get into high school and then they have a say and they really do feel, which I'm proud of them for that they feel a responsibility and a duty to their teammates and coaches. And they don't take that responsibility lightly, which is good. That would be a different set of problems if they didn't care.
Yeah.
So
that balance is hard.
It is hard, but I do tell people, I think that's one thing that I definitely did when they were young, when I did go, a lot of times I'd take them quote unquote hunting, but it was like the chances of getting something was next to nothing. But I would take a freeze-dried meal. We'd go out in the woods. We'd go walk for a little ways. Then we'd start a fire, which that fascinated them that you could just, anywhere you wanted to, you could just start a fire. Yeah. It's like, are we going to get in trouble for this? And then, cook a meal. That was like their favorite thing to do was to boil some water and cook a meal and eat it in the woods. And I think sometimes people make the mistake of putting too much emphasis on, well, if I'm going to take my kid, I have to go, we need to get an elk, we have to get one. And so then they death march them. Yeah. And the kid's just following along behind, oblivious to nature and what's around them. And they're just, in their mind, they're kind of just on a hellacious death march.
Yeah, it's miserable.
And after a while, they're like, I don't want to do that. And I have a friend that said, that's his regret, is he kind of ruined him because he was trying so hard out of the goodness of his heart, or the way that he thought, if only I could get an elk, then they would fall in love with all this. Right. Yeah. But like you're saying, to sit there and kind of take it a little bit easier and focus on what kind of trees and bugs and animals are out there, and just that experience of being out in the woods, I think is good advice.
Bonding like with your kid out there. And it's hard to bond when you're so focused on the end result, because you really have to be dialed in and paying attention to what you're doing. But like you said, naming the trees, like that was something my dad did. He would stop and tell me about the different kinds of trees. And then as we'd be going through the woods, he'd be like, what's that one? Or what's that one? And quiz me on it. And it just made it fun.
And it's fun to ask a kid, like, all right, where's the truck? Take us.
Yeah.
I would tell my kids, like, I'm following you. Take me back to the truck. And sometimes it was fun to wander off in the wrong direction with him for a ways and be like, do you think we're on the right path?
Yeah.
But I think it also helps make an aware kid. It helps them start to understand, like, noticing their surroundings. Like, oh, if dad's going to do that, next time I go out, I'm going to pay attention instead of just stare at the boots and march.
Oh, that's good. I took my son when he was, I don't know, I probably started taking him bear hunting when he was about 3. And I would let him kind of lead the way for a little while. It was pretty cute. I have some videos of him that make me crack up to this day. He would bring a little dinosaur toy with him, and we'd sit on a log and I'd be glassing and he's playing with it. And then he's like, I'm going to walk back to the truck. And he starts going and he's like, we're lost. Because he sees a tree that he didn't recognize, and like, you just didn't notice that on the way. And we're on the right path. You're doing good. But I would always bring gummy bears for him when we go bear hunting. I was like, we have to bring gummy bears because that just makes sense. And
snacks.
That made it exciting for him.
Yeah, that's
fun.
Awesome. So when you got out of high school and kind of left home or whatever, where did you go from there?
I went to a ranch over in Western Washington that was a horse place. So they had kids come out. They did different programs throughout the summer. And I taught horsemanship, so I taught Western riding, English riding, and then trail riding.
So if you were teaching that, you must have been pretty involved in that through high school then on some local ranches, or where did you learn all that? Where did you learn that experience?
The hard way. So I went out as a kid that really didn't know much, and I bought a horse, and I just learned trial and error. And I had a pastor who was kind of a mentor to me growing up. And he's probably the reason why I was so interested in cowboys and horses and Western stuff, because he was that way. He would go up to the pulpit in his Stetson and his boots. And he was just a really cool guy. And he was always invested in me as a kid. And he would help me with things. He knew I really wanted a horse. And so he ended up buying a small little pasture area, bought a horse. And then he's like, if you want to get a horse, you can put it out here. So I got my own, an old horse that was just bomb-proof, and went out and learned the hard way. And then I ended up buying a little baby, a little colt, and thought that I could train it like most young girls do. They're like, oh, I've had one horse, now I can train a colt.
Right.
Not a good idea. Ended up selling that just to go to work at that ranch. So it was, basic horsemanship, basic riding instruction for about 3 different summers I did that. And in between one of those summers, I went to an equestrian college for a year and did a lot more in depth and a lot more
like
training.
Lamar or like where?
No, it was a weird college. It was a combination of a Bible and equestrian college over in Oregon, Silverton, Oregon. And that got me a ton of experience. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like growing up, I was in a small little town, kind of sheltered. I didn't go to school, so I didn't see a lot of other people, like what they were going to go do. And I just thought I'm going to grow up and get married and have a family. And my mom was kind of an idol to me. She did an excellent job raising us kids, and you could tell she loved what she was doing. She was passionate about it. And I just thought, well, this is what I'm going to grow up and do. But I had this interest in horses. So, I didn't have somebody that I was interested in dating. I didn't have anything like that. So I was like, I'm just going to pursue what I'm interested in. So the horses was kind of where I headed. And through my pastor, I found that ranch and started working there. And then through that ranch, I found the school. I went to the school.
What do you, with homeschool, what's your, and homeschooling has changed a lot from when you went through it to today. Like just the resources, the internet, everything that's available, even the way that I think homeschooling's viewed today versus back then. And I know a lot of people homeschooling their kids who their kids are actually still very heavily involved in sports and things through the schools. Were you involved in any of that stuff, or were you more isolated?
No, I was more isolated. There wasn't, I mean, we were in a small town. So
Tiny
there
town,
were
yeah.
some places that had like homeschool co-ops where people would get together and do stuff, but that really wasn't available where we were. My brother did play a couple different sports through the local high school for a couple years, but I wasn't really interested in sports. And I didn't do much like that. Ours was my mom was like hard about school. She was like, this is going to be done right. It's going to be done well. And she did a great job.
Yeah.
She was passionate about it. She loved doing it. She's a great teacher.
Yeah.
But she had our curriculum, and my brother and I were only a year and a half apart. And I just took to it really easily. So she bumped me up a year, and that put us in the same material. And so we would study with each other, and we worked our way through, and I was able to end up graduating when I was 16, which opened up the opportunity for me to go and start doing some of this work at the ranch and go to school and stuff like that.
If you had to do it all over again, would you still do the homeschool thing? Well, like what's your view on homeschool today and back then?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I was very, very content being homeschooled. My brother didn't. And I think that's kind of key with homeschooling is some kids need more of the social aspect of a school. And they want some of those other opportunities that are available through school. And I think that that's important to pay attention to. There's a lot of options out there now. Like even in this town, my kids are doing different things. So my older daughter is homeschooled right now, my second oldest. And my boys are going to a small little Christian school that is here in town. And it's like, you can kind of tailor it to your kids' personalities and what you think is going to be best for them and what they need. But yeah, not all kids are cut out for homeschool. My brother really did not thrive in that environment.
I think that's super smart. And I think to be kind of introspective and be like, okay, well, this isn't about me. It's about the child. And maybe also understanding. I mean, I have 4 kids, so personalities within, just because they came from the same 2 parents doesn't mean they're the same thing.
Very different.
So to be able to kind of take a step back and take a 30,000 foot view of like, is this the best for this child versus this child is, I think it's super, super smart. To figure out what's actually going to be best for the kid. I look at it, if I was to do it today, and I think it also kind of depends too on your career, right? I mean, if I was to do it today, well, if my wife and I were running a knife company today and we had a 5-year-old, there's a decent chance that I would maybe have my wife try to stop doing what she's doing and homeschool, because we have a lot of opportunities to travel and experience a lot of things, go on hunts, go on all these different, business trips. And I think there's a lot of experience that a kid could have that they're not going to get through school. But back when I had young kids and I'm working at Northwestern Energy as a lineman, and, my ex-wife was teaching, and you have a day job that's 8 hours a day. Like, and honestly, there was no way at that point we could have afforded for somebody to quit. So, I think it also is really dependent on what the parents are doing. But I will say if I had the ability to homeschool today, I probably would, because I also see, I have 2 kids left in high school, and I see the amount of time also just wasted on stupid shit.
A lot.
Like, and we have a great school. I mean, we really do. My kids, I think, have maybe the best school in the county as far as a high school goes. So this isn't an indictment on their teachers, but just the way the schedule lays out. And I also think when a kid starts to get to a junior, senior in high school, requiring them to take certain classes when you can just tell, okay,
where they're
like
headed.
Hank's not going to be a musician.
Right. Exactly.
He doesn't need to take choir. Right. Now, I do think it's actually very good to make kids experience some of that stuff in grade school and maybe even in junior high, because they may have a talent they didn't recognize.
Yeah, they don't necessarily know what they're interested in. They haven't been exposed to a lot. Yeah.
But I think we also miss a lot of opportunity when kids start to really form and you start to realize the kind of adult this kid might be when they're a junior, sophomore, junior, senior, and allow them to tailor. Maybe they're just gifted in math and they should be pushed 3 times as hard in that math direction or science or English or whatever that is. Or it's more on the vocational side, you know, and I see the amount of time wasted with young, especially boys, that maybe it'd be better off for them at 16, 17 years old to spend half their day apprenticing with a plumber or a roofing contractor or a backhoe operator, excavation you know, because I think there's just a lot of kids that you can just tell, like, this kid's going to be a blue collar kid. He's probably going to do something outside working with his hands. And why are we jamming more schoolwork into their brain when they could at least split that day in half? If you're homeschooling, by 11 a.m., get your studies out of the way and still go put in an 8-hour day learning a trade.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's so much room for change in the way that kids are educated. I think it's hard to change stuff like that, especially when it's been so long one way. But there's so much time wasted for kids in public school. And then there's so many gaps in learning of what they actually need day to day. They learn a lot of stuff that they're never going to use.
Right.
I was, you know, even my son in the Christian school, I'm going through his work when he comes home and he's doing homework. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's in English, they're focusing on all these different pieces and parts of language. And I understand the why behind it. But it's like, I write articles. I get paid to write articles. And I learned all this stuff in high school, but I don't use any of it.
Right.
And, you know, he's spending time on this, but like, does he know how to run a chainsaw? And does he know how to, you know, fix a small plumbing issue? No, they don't know any of that. They don't know how to pay their bills.
Balance a checkbook.
Yeah, balance a checkbook. There's like real life stuff that could help these kids cook a meal. And we spend it on this stuff that they're never going to use. I understand, like, if you really want to go into English, a lot of that stuff, you're only going to use it if you're an English teacher.
Right.
And what's the point?
Yeah, you send an 18-year-old out, 20-year-old out to vote in an election, but they actually don't understand how the economy works. And they actually don't understand how... My kids learned a lot about how the economy works and how it actually affects them as a citizen, even as a 15-year-old when they're in 4-H and they're buying steer feed and we're standing in Murdoch's and my daughter goes, Dad, that feed's $12.99. It was $8.99 last year.
Interesting. Yeah.
And they're like, why? Why is it $4 more a bag? And it's like, okay, well, a lot of the things that are happening in our world, this is the result. Yeah. And it's really good for kids to see whether you're buying, you know, food for yourself or putting gas in your car or whatever. And I don't think that so many of these kids just aren't taught basic economics. But then you're going to send a kid off to go take out gigantic student loans to go into college because that's kind of the thing they're supposed to do. You know, I went to college for a year right out of high school because that's kind of the thing you're supposed to do. And, you know, I was able to pay for it and not end up saddled with a bunch of debt. But had I stayed for very long, and honestly, the cost back then, I see the cost of college now. It's like, I think my daughter's college is almost $50,000 a year. But thank God she's got a full ride scholarship.
Nice.
But I can't imagine a kid at 18 with that kind of weight on them. It's already enough weight on her to just, I mean, she texted this morning, she's taken her first 2 exams of her sophomore year today. That's a lot of weight in itself, plus her responsibilities for basketball. But if she wasn't in basketball, the weight on her shoulders would be working jobs.
Yeah.
You know, that's a ton of weight on a kid.
Well, they're making these decisions coming out of high school. They're still kids.
Yeah, and they don't even know what the implications of that $50,000 a year, $30,000 a year is going to mean when they're 30 and they have 2 kids.
Exactly.
And they're like, I didn't even finish college and I have $100,000 in debt.
And they're paying for all of this, and they're taking classes that have nothing to do half the time with what they're going to end up doing.
Right.
It's like, what a waste.
Yeah.
It seems like a waste of time.
Yeah, my sister, she got, and I'd be curious to actually ask her if she would do anything different, because she went to college and got an English lit degree. English literacy. Yeah. And came out of it, moved out to Seattle and ended up working in a coffee shop. She did end up like editing some papers and some stuff for Microsoft for their website and found out that it was insanely boring.
I bet.
Like terrible, like just editing copy, thousands of pages of copy.
That's awful.
And ended up taking a real estate, class or whatever and got a real estate degree. And she's been a realtor for 15 years now, and she's crushing it.
Nice.
With an English lit degree that
Right.
isn't really applicable,
Most people you talk to when they've gone to college, the job that they end up doing really doesn't have anything to do with what they went for.
And that's where, where was the guidance? And I'd be curious I've never even asked her why she ended up in that class, and where was the guidance when she sat down with a counselor to really discuss okay, if you take this degree, you might like English, you might like reading and writing. She was kind of nerdy that way, but what is it going to mean for you in 4 and 8 years, 10 years? What are your...
Well, and a lot of times, for a job, you just have to be able to put down that you have some kind of a degree.
Yeah.
They don't really care what it is, even.
Yeah, and I will say as an employer, we look through hundreds and hundreds of resumes. A degree for me, in a way, it shows me you can start and finish something.
Right.
It does show me that you have some stick-to-itiveness and some work ethic, and I understand getting any degree involves some level of work. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, though, now there's some jobs, right? If you're an engineer or something, it's different.
Specific.
But I'm talking just in general when we're hiring somebody. It probably helps get you an interview if I can see that. But if there's other things on there that can show me the same thing, mm-hmm. They were in 4-H or they worked on this ranch for 5 years or whatever, I'm looking for work ethic,
right,
and responsibility. So that can be shown in other ways. Whether you have a degree or not, when you sit down at the table in front of us, I don't ever ask anything about their college mm-hmm. experience, their degree, whatever. It's about how they answer our questions, right. And it's about the culture fit, work ethic, mm-hmm. and how I can judge that. And now maybe other employers are different, but really your college degree on your paperwork when you come to us doesn't mean a hell of a lot unless it's a specific position that does.
Requires it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of times for jobs, it seems like people just have to have that, be able to check that box to just get their foot in the door.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's changing.
I hope so, honestly.
I do too. I feel like when I entered the workforce, you're probably a little bit younger than me, but when you were stepping out into the world, I think that was probably a lot more of a thing. Mm-hmm. It feels like today that pendulum is shifting a little bit.
There is a shift in it for sure.
But I'm sure at bigger corporate places where they just have a big HR hiring staff, and they're just trying to eliminate down thousands of resumes. Yeah. It's an easy box to check.
It is. It's just that one thing that you can be like, okay, well, this eliminates all of these.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, if you just eliminated 300 resumes, I guarantee you washed out a dozen all-stars.
Probably.
I guarantee it. Yeah, because some of our very best people in our shop have no degree.
Right. There's a lot of really cool people that never went to college.
Yeah. So how was your experience on that the horse ranch stuff? Did you after high school?
It was a really good experience for me. It was kind of like an internship in a way. You dedicate a lot of time and a lot of energy. It was a lot of hard work, long days, for very little pay. But it was a religious based program, and so they relied on people coming in and giving time to be able to reach out to these kids. So that was great. It was good for me. I got a lot of experience with horses. We had a herd of about 70 head, and we would run them out to pasture at night and then get up at about 4:30 in the morning, saddle the 2 horses we kept behind and go get them all, bring them back in, clean them, feed them, saddle them, take trail rides out in the morning, and then you run them all down to the arenas and run classes all day. And it was good for me. Challenged me in a lot of ways, and I ended up in leadership positions there with that program because I always took whatever I was doing, I took it seriously. My mom and dad taught me, you do the best you can at whatever you're going to do. So I always did pretty well. And, in my mind, I was loving it because I got to wear my cowboy hat to work every day.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I ended up meeting a young man there that was the son of the director of the camp. And growing up as a homeschool kid in a family that was very conservative Christian mindset, in church every Sunday, my homeschool curriculum had one of my subjects was Bible. We took it very seriously. I was like I said, I was kind of an odd kid. My mindset growing up was like, I'm going to get married. I'm going to have a family. I don't want to spend time dating just to spend time dating. I want to date somebody if I think there's a possibility I might end up with this person, because otherwise it's just a drain on my emotions and my time.
Right.
So I had like this checklist in my mind where I was like, I'm going to find somebody has the same religious background as I do and has the same faith, and that's a priority for them. They love hunting and they love the outdoors because that's really important to me. They want to have kids because I want to have kids. I just had this checklist in my mind. And this guy checked all those boxes. But I was also real naive because I didn't go to high school. I didn't see a lot of teenage relationships. I just wasn't surrounded by that. And my folks were great. My mom and dad were awesome. They had their squabbles, but I think the worst fight my folks ever got into, my mom threw a roll of toilet paper at my dad. It was a great home life. And I saw that and thought like, well, this is how it works. And so I didn't have my radar up to spot red flags. I didn't know what a red flag was if I saw it.
Yeah.
And there were plenty, but I didn't see them. They went right over my head. So I dated him kind of off and on while I worked at that ranch, while I went through college. And, he checked all the boxes and I'm like, this guy's great. And I was pretty serious about it, but he was a player, to put it simply. And I didn't know what that was. So we had broke up, and then he wanted to come hunting to my dad's elk camp. And he came out because he had kind of gotten to know the family, and we were all friends with that family. And we were sitting around the fire one night, and he was like, I kind of want to get back together. And I was like, well, it's like, I want to be committed to the person that I'm dating. Like, I'm not into this wishy-washy back and forth stuff. I'm ready to commit to somebody. And if you're not, that's fine.
Right.
Like, I don't care. We can be friends. Like, it's no big deal, but I don't want to do this back and forth stuff. And he was like, no, I'm ready to commit. Like, I wasn't sure, but now I am. So he had graduated, and I was obviously graduated, not sure what I was going to do. It was probably going to end up going back to school for the second year. That program I was going through was a 2-year college program. And he wanted to be a taxidermist. He was he was doing an internship with an electrical company. Mm-hmm. And he was only like 2 weeks away from finishing his internship. But we had gone on a trip over here to Montana, and we're up visiting friends of their families in St. Ignatius. And he went by, we stopped at that taxidermy shop in Arlee.
Yep.
Sean Andrews.
Alpine Artistry.
Yeah. And the guy there was talking to us, and he was like, hey, if you're interested in taxidermy, like, you can come work for me. I'll give you an internship and teach you. And
yeah.
And so he was all about that. And he jumped on that chance. And he had rolled his car like the week before that. So I ended up driving over, picking him up from Western Washington, driving back through like a snowstorm. And he asked me to marry him on the way over here to bring him for his internship. And so we ended up stopping along the way, and we ended up eloping.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we just got married because he's like, why are we going to drag this out? Let's just get married. So he came over for his internship, and I moved over with him, and we started our life here in Montana, up at St. Ignatius.
Wow. And do you have kids with him then?
Yep. So we were married for about 1.5 years before I ended up having my first daughter.
Okay. Awesome. And what did you do up there for work?
We were renting an apartment from their friends. They had like a big apartment above a garage. And so I worked at her place. I cleaned her house for her. And then I also worked for her husband, who was a general contractor, and I would go clean up construction sites when they were finished before people moved in and stuff.
Yep.
So I would do that, just odd jobs here and there. And we did all the things that, I thought we were going to do. We went hunting, we went fishing, all that stuff. Like we were living the outdoor lifestyle that I had envisioned, and we were trying not to have kids because that's something I wanted to have. So got pregnant, had our first little baby, but everything that was going on there was really bad. Like we were married for about a month, and I remember sitting like in the corner of our bedroom in the dark, like just kind of hiding, because he was really good at hiding who he was when I was dating him, but he also wasn't. Like there were signs of it, but I didn't see them. So it really took me by surprise. Once we got married, he like didn't feel like he had to hide that anymore. And he was abusive, but not like he wouldn't straight up hit me, because I think he knew like if I hit this girl, she's gonna hit me back, for one. And two, she's not gonna put up with that. So he would be real creative in the ways that he did things, but mentally, verbally, physically abusive. And, you know, I grew up conservative Christian, and it was like, you don't leave a marriage.
Right.
You know, divorce is not an option. So I just poured myself into like, what does the Bible say that a wife is supposed to be to her husband? And, you know, you're supposed to respect your husband. You're supposed to support them. You know, you're supposed to take care of your home. You're supposed to take care of your kids. So I poured myself into all of that to the best of my ability. And I just thought, he's young. He'll probably come around. Like if I do the things I'm supposed to do, he's going to appreciate me. He's going to feel supported to become the best version of himself. And it got bad. It got really bad. I remember at one point, he really struggled with work because he would not show up on time. He was somebody who was not respectful to his boss. And his boss would get upset with him, and then he would come home and he would be upset with me because he was just pissed because of everything that happened at work. So I was trying to help him. Little did I know it was just enabling really bad behavior. But like I would get up in the morning, make him breakfast, make him a lunch. I remember one morning going in and like getting his clothes, getting him dressed, going out, starting his pickup, scraping his windows. I would change the oil in the truck. Like I would do everything I could to make it as easy as possible for him to succeed, because I just wanted him to have a good day so that I could have a good day. And the lady that we were renting from, she came out one day and she was like, don't do this. You're not helping. But I was a kid. I was married when I was 19. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was 18. I was 19. So I didn't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
I was learning as I went. So we ended up, he lost that job because he, was not a good employee. And we didn't really know where to go. Bless you.
Excuse me. That came out of nowhere.
That's fine. We didn't really know where to go at that point. So we ended up deciding to move back to Idaho, close to my folks. And I ended up pregnant again there was 3 months between having my first daughter and being pregnant with my second.
Oh, wow.
It was real close.
Yeah.
Which turned out cool in the end. They're buddies, but.
Yeah. How old are your kids now?
My oldest is turning 18 in November, and then Quincy's 16 right now.
Okay. Yeah.
So we moved to Idaho, and I at the time, it really frustrated me. He refused to take out a loan to buy a house. He just wouldn't do it. And I think the reason he didn't want to do it is because he knew he struggled with work, and he's like, I'm not going to be able to afford it. At the time, it was frustrating, but he was like, why don't we pay to have the property that your parents' family owned surveyed? Because it had been split between two different sections of the family, but nobody knew whose side was whose.
Yeah.
So nobody could do anything with the land. So we paid and had the property surveyed. And for doing that, we ended up getting to parcel out a 10-acre piece of property from that family land. And we built a cabin out there. It was a 12-foot by 16-foot cabin. And no running water, no electricity. And that's what we moved into. And so he worked for a farmer for a while. He worked for a tree farm for a while. He just went in and out of jobs locally.
Yeah.
And we lived there for, I want to say, we had Quincy there. And by the time I ended up moving, she was 4.
Okay. That's when you split.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, did your parents notice any of that stuff happening once you moved back over there?
They noticed. I mean, it was pretty obvious on the outside.
Yeah. Did you get some advice from somebody that helped you make that decision to leave?
No. Honestly, like, people could see it. I tried to hide it, and I did a pretty good job of hiding how bad it was, but people knew that something wasn't right. Mm-hmm. The reason he ended up getting the job with the farmer told us at one point, he's like, I was just really worried about her, and I knew that they needed money because we were living on like $350 a month.
Yeah.
And
God, how is that raising kids with no running water? Did you have electricity?
Not for a long time. No.
What was that like?
You know, it's funny because I like living like that. Like if I could live like that now, I would. Mm-hmm. I don't mind being off grid and simple living. Simple living is my favorite, but living like that with somebody that's abusive is awful.
Yeah.
It was real hard. I remember saving like the tops of tomatoes that I would cut off because I'm like, I might need these for something later. Like I just had to get real resourceful. I mean, it was kind of like, it was survival. Yeah. It was survival in a different sense. Mm-hmm. And, my kids, I was able to shield them from a lot because they were little. Mm-hmm. So little kids, you can make anything seem fun. Yeah. With little kids, they think it's cool that you light an oil lamp at night so you can see to brush their teeth or whatever. But yeah, it was rough. It was hard. And my folks lived nearby, which was like the saving grace because I would take the kids there and we would give them a bath, or I would take a shower or wash clothes or whatever. But they were worried about what was going on, and they would voice concerns. And anytime somebody voiced a concern, that just tipped him over the edge because, he didn't like being confronted with reality. Yeah. And so I would try to push people away just to protect my peace because I didn't need anybody else putting a monkey wrench into what I was trying to juggle. It was already enough to juggle. And then he, because of them being upset, would start to isolate me. Like, he's like, well, I don't want you to go in there and do your laundry anymore. You got to go do it at the laundromat. Yeah. So I remember a time where I was at the laundromat doing my laundry. It's a town of 200 people. Like, you see everybody that lives in town when you're sitting there for a few hours. Right. Well, my mom comes into the store. It's like it's a gas station, general store, and laundromat. Yeah. It's all in one. Yeah. And she walked in and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm doing the laundry. And she's like, why didn't you come to the house to do the laundry? Because she loved it when I came in. She got to see the girls, her grandbabies, and visit with her daughter. And I was just like, well, I made up some excuse for why I was there because I didn't want to tell her that my husband wouldn't let me come and do laundry there anymore. And it got like that. It got real bad to the point where people were like, this is not safe. And I had a friend. I really appreciate her. She's still a really close friend. She and her husband, they knew my ex-husband before I did. Mm-hmm. And once we got together, like, we all four of us were real close friends. And they would come over and visit really just to, a lot of times, to check on me, which I didn't realize at the time, but they would come over and stay, and they said it was super hard to come over and just watch what happened. I remember an incident. I didn't remember it until I did a lot of therapy and specifically EMDR, but my friends remembered it. But they had come over and he got really upset about something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And he actually put a knife to my throat. And her husband took him and decked him, knocked him across the couch onto the floor, and they kind of started a fight. And I remember like stopping it and being like, don't do this, because I was just always afraid of them escalating his behavior and making it worse. So they stuck by my side, even though I pushed everybody away. Mm-hmm. She just let me know that she was there. She always did. She would just check up on me. She wouldn't push, but she just was always there. And I never reached out to her because I didn't have the capacity for other people at that point in time. But once everything went down and I ended up leaving, they were there. They had my back.
Where did you go and how did you pick where you went?
Well, that was a whole nother level of like trauma coming out of it, because that is a process. Mm-hmm. And his family, his behavior is tied to his family. It's like it's a family thing. It's a family trait. There's a lot of toxicity in that family. And when they saw everything happening and realized I was going to leave, they were like, maybe if we snag her up, we can put this back together, because them leaving, them separating is not good for our reputation. Mm-hmm. So his sister told me to come and stay with her for a while he got his stuff out of the cabin, because when I left, my thing was, this is my family's land.
Right.
This is my heritage. Like, this is my place. So I'm going to live here, but I'm leaving for a while, so you have time to get your stuff together and get out. And so I went and stayed with his sister over in Washington for a few months while the whole divorce process was happening. And I helped her start a horsemanship program. She has a ranch over by Ritzville. Mm-hmm. And I kind of stayed there with the kids, helped her get this program off the ground. And then once he had moved out and everything was kind of settled, then I moved back to the cabin.
Mm-hmm. I see. What during that time period, were you still getting out in the outdoors much, doing any hunting? Like, was that kind of a place that you found some happiness, some peace? Yeah.
Yeah, the outdoors was always like my sanctuary. Yeah. I always felt at peace out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really blessed, because there's a lot of people that have situations like this. This is not an uncommon thing for women. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, I know people like this, they don't have family like I had. Mm-hmm. I had a family and friends that were so supportive of me. So I knew, like, even though I didn't want to have to fall back on that, because I want to be independent and I want to do things myself, but I had 2 little kids. Right. And, you know, I've got a cabin with no running water, no electricity. I know that this is a risky thing for me to do, but because I had such a solid support system, I was confident in my ability to do it. But there's a lot of people that don't have that.
Well, it's similar to hiking in the woods in a snowstorm in the dark with a headlamp with one set of batteries, but knowing you have a GPS in your pocket, mm-hmm. versus not having it. Right. Yes. And there's a level of comfort that gives you of like, well, I don't want to have to look at that GPS. I don't want to have to use it. I want to do this on my own. And I think I can get my way out of here. But right. at the end of the day, I can pull that GPS out.
Yeah. In the back of your head,
your family and your friends were your GPS, mm-hmm. kind of knowing you had that to fall back on.
Yeah.
Versus the feeling that I think a lot of people have, which is there's no GPS in your pocket, mm-hmm. and you feel like you're going to get lost and die.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Well, you'll make decisions that you wouldn't make otherwise. Like, right. If I know I have a GPS in my pocket, I'm liable to stay out longer. I'm liable to, take this route that I'm not sure of.
Right.
Whereas if I didn't, I wouldn't make that choice.
Yeah, and that route might be, leaving and, mm-hmm. Making that decision to make a change, knowing that you can kind of not have to worry too much. You have that backstop.
Right.
What? How did you end up then back in Montana later on?
Well, I lived there at the cabin for a while, and I took a job at a tree farm, and then I took a job as a custodian at a courthouse, a nighttime job. Mm-hmm. And because I had my mom, it was great. She was willing to watch the girls for me while I went to work. But I knew, like, this isn't a sustainable thing for my daughters.
Right.
Like, the jobs were getting us by, but they weren't great.
Right.
And I worked at the courthouse. I was friends with the local police department there. I had a lot of friends that were cops, and I was talking to one of them one day, and I was like, I always kind of was interested in being a cop. My grandpa was a detective and the captain of the Lewiston Police Department, and he was awesome, and I'd always respected them. And he was like, you would make a great cop. He's like, would you actually do it? And I was like, well, yeah, I think I would. And he's like, well, if you're interested, he's like, we'll hire you. We'll send you to post. You can come work for us. And I was like, that would be a solid job. Like, it's not ideal for a single mom raising kids to be gone that much, but I was like, I have to provide.
Career.
Yeah, it's a career. I have to provide for them. And there's not a whole lot of options in a small town in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, this would be great. But I was dating a man that I had met. We lived far apart. He was deployed in Afghanistan, and then he got back and he was in Florida for a little while. And then he had made his way back to Montana, and he was going to school over in Missoula. So I was excited about it because I was like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to do something good for my kids. And so I called him that night and I was like, guess what? They offered me a job as a cop. And he was like, not excited. And I was like, well, I kind of thought you'd be excited about it. And he was like, well, he's like, you know that if they send you down there and they put all that time and effort in, they're going to want at least 2 years of work there. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, I thought we were going to be maybe married before then. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking that far in advance. Like, I was really in survival mode. I was focusing on one day at a time.
Right.
So I hadn't even really gone there in my mind. And honestly, I was so content being single. I was so happy being single. Like, I had been through all this stuff for 7 years. And to finally just be on my own and making my own decisions and thinking about what I wanted to do with my kids was really cool for me. But I also was, you know, being in survival mode, you're thinking about like, what are the best decisions for me to make? And I knew like, if I take this cop job, I'm going to be gone on odd shifts. I'm going to be going out in situations that are not always safe. I've got these 2 little girls. Like, what's going to be best for these kids? We're living in a cabin. At that point, I did have electricity, but I still didn't have running water.
Yeah.
And, you know, outhouse, that kind of setup. I'm like, this is not long-term ideal for my daughters. And this guy that I had met, like, he was super stable. He was a sweet guy, treated me really great. He was super invested in me and my daughters. And I was just like, this makes sense. I was thinking about what makes sense.
Right.
And so I had come back, like, came out to go visit him, brought my daughters with me. We went on a hike, and it was not long after I had been offered that job. And I was still going forward with it because I didn't have a better option. And on the hike, he ended up asking me to marry him. And I remember, like, when he asked me, like, the normal thoughts that go through your mind when somebody asks you to marry them, that's not what was going through my mind. Yeah. I was like weighing all these things. I'm just like, okay, I got the girls and I got this job. And I said yes. And it's not that I said yes just for those reasons, but like, I was so mentally and emotionally damaged in a way from the experience that I had had, that like love was not the same thing for me anymore. Like, yeah, I did love him, but I went through many years of therapy to get to the point where I feel like I can actually connect with somebody again in a way that's like more of an authentic, what we think of as love. But at that point in time, I didn't really have that.
Right.
So I said yes, and we ended up getting married that summer, right before my oldest daughter was going to start kindergarten. So we moved over, and she started school, and from there we ended up having a son together, and now we have been fostering and adopting, and we adopted a little boy 2 years ago, almost a year and a half ago, and now we have another little foster boy, a little 2-year-old.
Oh, wow. What does he do?
He works for the Forest Service. Okay. He's an IT guy, so he was...
Here in Missoula?
Yeah. He was in the military as an EOD tech. He's like real tech-minded. Yep. And so he does really well with that stuff, and he's really good at it.
That EOD stuff's legit.
It's a technical thing. Like, I didn't know anything about it, but yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
So you moved over here. You guys got married and moved over here and then raised kids, and it was kind of where you've been since. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's awesome that it was able to work out after all that kind of rough start.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Yeah. I've always said, like, it feels like I've lived multiple lives. I feel like I'm in my third life right now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I'll say, like, I think you do live multiple lives within one. I mean, it's been interesting. I think getting married super, super young can work out, but it can also be a huge mistake in a certain way. And not every situation's abusive and kind of what you went through, but I think just in general, one, you and your brother are kind of evidence that boys and girls mature at different rates, right? I mean, your mom's able to move you up a year in school. You know, I've raised 3 girls and a boy. The girls are all mentally more advanced at a young age than boys are.
I think it's common.
Yeah, my girls were ready to go to kindergarten when they were 4. When Hank hit 5, he had no interest, whatsoever. And we actually waited a year to put him in kindergarten just because, like, he just wasn't interested.
Yeah.
Best move we ever made. But I will say, like, they say what a boy's brain isn't fully really developed till they're 30.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of stupid. And girls, I think it's 25 or 28 or something like that. I mean, they're a couple years faster than boys, but even still, just go try to talk to I always think about being like 35 and dating like a 19-year-old. Sounds horrendous.
Yeah.
Like to have to sit around and talk to a 19-year-old girl.
Life experience. Oh man. Like I look back at that time frame, like I was a child.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you're not supposed to be fully developed, and so too. I think it's a little like winning the lottery. At times when 2 19-year-olds get married and they end up with like the perfect life, like it just, there's some luck involved in that.
Rare. Yeah. My folks. The problem was I had an example. My folks got married young.
Same. My parents too, and same way. I never really saw my parents fight.
Yeah.
Like you say, there was a little tone of voice here and there or whatever,
right,
but
exactly.
just typical stuff. But not be no disrespect whatsoever. I never really saw that.
Well, and not only that, like my folks met. They were engaged a month after they met, and they were married 3 months after they met.
Yeah.
So it was not realistic. The example I got was not reality.
Right.
It was like the one-off.
Yeah, and you were raised in a kind of sheltered bubble. Mm-hmm. So being homeschooled and in a tiny town, like you can be homeschooled in a large city and still be a little bit more exposed to just society.
Yes. I had like the ultimate, like just small picture of what the world was.
And I don't know that it would have been much different had you gone to public school in that same town. It still would have been a pretty sheltered life.
It would have.
Because I grew up in a town of like 1,000 people, 1,200 maybe, kind of varied depending on time of year, but and went to public school, but also had kind of that Leave It to Beaver, perfect home life.
Yeah.
Right. And wasn't exposed to, it's Lincoln, Montana. Like there's no cultural diversity there.
Right.
There's not. We had 3 sports and that's it. And the girls of the 15 to 20 kids in your class, like you have a few options to date, and if they're not the right options, then you're pretty much just living this sheltered life. So I don't even know if it would have been a lot different for you from an experience standpoint had you even gone to school in that place. Maybe
probably not.
You might have dated kind of, but it's hard to say.
There wasn't that many options there. And
exactly.
I had this idea of what I wanted it to look like, and there wasn't anybody there that fit that.
Right.
So I wasn't interested. That's kind of why I had to leave. I felt like to go away from that place for my life to potentially move forward, because I was like, there's nobody here I want to date, and I was just going to stay here and sit around this small town for.
Yeah, and from a religious aspect, it's there's some there's the whole like don't live in sin, live apart. Never have sex till you're married situation also that I think can also be misguiding, because there is a difference between being in 2 different houses and living apart and living together and seeing someone 24 hours a day. And so I'm actually a big fan of, well, my daughter right now is living with her boyfriend. She's 21. They're the same age. I would love it if they lived together for 4 or 5 years, and they don't just get married right away, and they get to have that experience and still have some optionality in what they decide to do or however their brains mature, both of them. And if they end up married, then great. Like they can say when they're 80, we were together at 20.
Right. There is that fallacy in that mindset of like, you cannot be together, you can't do anything until you're married, because it pushes these young kids, because of naturally, they want to move forward in their relationship, and they want to move forward in their life, and they feel like the only way they can do that is get married. And it's like you make this permanent decision that is based off of your ideology, a permanent decision as a child, just because you feel like you're stuck and you can't move forward otherwise.
Right.
which is
it's like, well, I want to sleep with her and I want to live with her, so I guess I'll have to marry her.
Right.
Well, and now you've made, some much more permanent, and then you're stuck in this religious belief that, well, once we're married, you're not, God doesn't allow you to get divorced. So you put yourself in this weird situation. That can be toxic or can be, or just unhealthy, and maybe it's not an abusive situation, but it's not right, and there's not maybe full happiness there.
It's not a good fit. Well, and it doesn't encourage, I don't know. There's something that I've taken away from my experience that I've tried to instill in my daughters, and so far I don't know how well it's working. But there's not a big. They don't focus very much on individuality and investing in and growing yourself. Like there's a big push in Christianity for women, especially, to get married. And it's like, there is a wide world out there. There's so many things that you can do, and relationships will naturally come along, but you really don't have to focus on that. It's going to find you.
It's going to find you. Yeah.
Focusing on you and what you're interested in and growing your skills and having life experiences and traveling and doing what you can to build you as an individual is a way more advantageous focus, I feel like, for women than just go find a man, because that's probably going to happen. It's not often that difficult to find somebody. They're going to find you, especially if you're out pursuing yourself and you're out growing and you're out having experiences. You're going to be an attractive partner for somebody.
Right.
You don't have to focus on that.
I think that's for men and women.
Yes.
I mean, I think being very comfortable in knowing exactly who you are makes it much easier to end up marrying the right person, because the person they meet is not going to change, right? I mean, I got married too young. I wasn't the same person at 30 that I was at 20, right? And so having some time to figure out who you are, it's almost unfair to the other person. They marry one person and they end up 10 years later a different person. Well, maybe that person, maybe the wife didn't change, but the husband did, or vice versa.
Right.
And I agree. I'm raising 3 daughters, and I always hoped that I would raise daughters that had the strength to not need a boy, right? Not need a man.
Yeah, that mindset of this isn't something that I need. Yeah, maybe I want it.
I will say, when my daughters are married down the road, I hope that man actually does take care of them.
Right.
Right. Like my wife and I have, she'll say, I'm not doing that's man's work, right? Or, she'll be like, she's like, there's some man's work and some women's work. And she's like, we kind of have some roles here. But I don't necessarily, she might argue, but I don't think she needs me. She's a very capable woman.
Independent person.
And also, when I was, single, divorced with kids, I also can wash the dishes and do the laundry. I don't need that person, but it's obviously very nice to have that partner.
Yeah.
But raising women, strong women that have the self-confidence and the fortitude to be nope, and have standards where it's nope, that is not acceptable to me, and I don't need you, and I will go off and do whatever on my own. Yeah. No, I think it's, but same for boys. You'll see boys where it's they just have to have a girl on their arm, and it's go figure out who you are.
Right.
And it's going to be much easier for you to find the right woman that's actually going to work for you if you actually know who you are.
It's really a sad system because, we learn these things over time. We figure out I have self-worth issues, or I have this feeling, an attachment issue or whatever, but you usually figure that stuff out in your 30s and your 40s. By the time, if you wait until you're that mature to find somebody, you're past your prime for having kids, and it's a child's game.
Right.
But they don't know anything.
Yeah.
And so it just naturally breeds all of these issues. And I mean, it makes sense. People's marriage is the hardest thing you do. Yeah. Relationships are the hardest thing you do, but you're doing it as you're growing up.
Until you find that, my wife and I, when we got married, it was very, from the very beginning, I felt like both of us, we had both been through marriages. We both kind of knew exactly who we were, what we wanted, and we were kind of done with the bullshit. And I was very upfront. I was trying to make her not want to date me. I'm
how invested are you?
here's the mistakes I've made. Here's what I've done. here's what I want and don't want. I don't want disrespect. I don't want to fight. These are the things I want or don't want. Take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. Like, this is who I am. And she gave me basically the same things. And it was I think it's easier when you're 30 to be just very upfront and honest and open with kind of an attitude of like, take it or leave it. And then if they take it, you're both, it's all out on the table. All the cards are out on the table. No
surprises.
Yeah. Do you feel like your religion beliefs or faith and stuff has evolved and changed since like that 18-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl versus today?
Oh yeah. It's not even the same thing anymore.
In what way?
I don't know where it stemmed from. I think it might have been from my dad because he's kind of a similar personality on this front as I am. But when I feel like I am supposed to do something and it's the right thing to do, like I'm all in from the get-go. So as a kid with religion, I was like, these are the things I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability and I'm going all in. But, you know, there's a big difference between having a relationship with God and religion. It's not the same thing. And there's so many principles and so many rules and things that are all pushed on people in religion that are interpreted and made up by people. And they don't have anything to do with who I believe is God and the creator. And so my relationship really changed a lot. I remember when I had left, but I was still living over in Ritzville, mentally I was a mess because everything that I had gone through, I was struggling. I was really struggling. And I struggled with depression. I struggled with anxiety. And I remember I was driving down the highway and I had times where I would struggle with suicidal thoughts. Things like that would pop into my mind. I never felt like I was at risk for that because I knew like my daughters needed me.
Right.
But that stuff would come into my mind and I was just struggling. And this voice came into my mind. It wasn't a thought, it was a voice. And for me, the whole religious aspect of all of this was super complicated and I had guilt because I felt like somehow I must have failed. Like I didn't do what I needed to do to make this work. And it was like this voice that said, all this stuff that you're focusing on, I was doing Bible studies, I was reading books, I was just trying to find, I was searching for some sort of peace and some sort of direction. But it was so exhausting and my mind was so tired. And this voice just said, all this other stuff doesn't matter.
Right.
All this other stuff is just noise.
Right.
He's like, all you need to know is I'm faithful, I'm just, and I'm truth. He's like, and it was like everything that your husband isn't, I am. I'm faithful. He wasn't faithful. I'm just. Like this situation you were in was the opposite of justice. And I'm truth. You're going to find what you need in me. And for some reason, that just gave me peace. And it was almost like the permission I needed to let all of that other surface stuff, all the complicated stuff, all the Bible studies, all the whatever, let it go.
Right.
And just focus on this relationship with this, what I felt like was a person that really cares about me. And that relationship, just us. It doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter what you're told to do. It's just this relationship, you and him. That's all that matters. And from that point on, I dropped everything. Like I didn't go to church anymore. I wasn't doing Bible studies. I wasn't reading my Bible. And it's not that I think those things are bad. It's that I needed a break. I needed to simplify what this was. And I spent a lot of time just working on my mental health and I prayed to God. Like I would have conversations with him. I'd be like, bro, this is messed up. Yeah. Just very authentic conversations like I would have with you. And slowly over time, it felt so much healthier and it's become something where I feel very close to him and he will nudge me. You have your intuition, you have your whatever you want to call it. I know the things that I do that are positive things. And I know the things that are encouraging other people. I want to invest in other people, but it doesn't look like this religious you read your Bible every day, you go to church.
Right.
It doesn't look like that.
Yeah, well, I think what you're talking about, the way I look at it a little bit, is there's faith and religion, right? You're talking more about faith. You just have faith in something, and the way that you express it, the way you, go about your life is your version of that faith. Versus, I think personally, I'm not a real necessarily religious, faithful guy, whatever, but I actually do have. I have some beliefs, but I think religion is one of the biggest issues we have on our globe. Just look on the other side of the world. I mean, people have been fighting for thousands of years over religion. And I actually listened to a podcast the other day, and, the whole idea of the building of churches and the nonprofit status that they have, and the money plate that gets passed around, and the business of church is the religion. That's the human created side of it. Yeah. And
all of that is not good.
And I will also say, even though I'm not a religious guy, I will also say that I think one of the biggest issues in society, so I believe religion is one of the biggest problems our globe has, and I believe the lack of faith is one of the biggest problems that our globe has. So we've gotten away from, loving your neighbor and being faithful and, doing good, and we've gotten away from, you see the girl stabbed on the train by a thug, right? And no one helps, right? That's the part, like, where did the community go, right? And the community, I will say, back in the older days, like, the community was the church, because that was where people gathered, right? And that's where you checked in on your neighbor, because you didn't have social media. You weren't retracting into your homes at night. You were like, well, I haven't seen, Lindsey in 2 weeks. Let's go to church and we'll see Lindsey there, because we don't have phone connections or social media or whatever. Right. I think churches and school functions, and frankly, in a weird way, bars. Bars in the small towns, a lot of times, like, it was either the church, the basketball game, football game, or the bar.
Exactly.
Is where you saw your neighbors. And now we all kind of, it's like, I might be keeping track of my good buddy Ken on social media and watching what he's doing and seeing everything that he's doing, but he actually doesn't even know that I'm watching or care.
You have no actual connection.
There's no actual connection. Yeah. And he might be sitting there thinking he's all alone and no one's called him in 2 weeks and he doesn't have any friends and he kills himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all along, he's got a bunch of buddies that have been rooting everything that he's doing on social media along.
I liked all his posts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's not real, right?
No,
and so it's funny. I think religion is one of the biggest problems that we have in the world, and I think lack of faith is also one of the biggest problems that we have. Faith, belief, whatever. Just living those kind of commandments and those codes,
Well, there's a big difference between doing something because people are watching you and it's like the checklist you have to check off to be the good Christian.
Right.
And doing something because in your heart of hearts and your intuition tells you this is what I need to do, and listening to that. Like, I checked all the boxes for a long time, and that got me where I was.
Right.
It did not lead to anything positive. And when I dropped all those boxes and I just started listening to my heart and doing what I felt was right, and, pursuing a relationship with this being that I feel is invested in who I am, trying to be the best person I can be, I've grown so much and I'm in such a better place when I let go of all the societal stuff.
Right.
Society's messed up.
Well, I also have seen and witnessed some of the most hypocritical people be the ones who are checking all those boxes on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday are absolute shitbags, right? And, whether it's screwing people over in business or sleeping around or doing whatever that they're doing, just not being good people. But just because you show up on Sunday morning, you go in and you confide in your pastor and some of your sins or whatever, and you check some boxes and drink the wine and walk out, and it's like you're cleansed. Like, bullshit. Because I also see the guy who never ever goes to church, who has a few too many beers on a Saturday night, but on Sunday he's hauling some old lady firewood.
Yeah, he's helping neighbors.
Right. Yeah, or helping somebody go with their calving season or whatever. And he's a flawed individual in a way, but would never hurt a single person, would never do anything but be helpful to their neighbors. Like, well, that guy doesn't show up to the building on Sunday, but who's the actual better human?
Right. What are your intentions? Are your intentions to look good and check boxes, or is your heart intention to just be a decent human being?
A good community member. Yeah. Good societal member.
And you can find them in both places. They are in church. There are those people in church, but they're not all there.
Yeah, they're in church, and I would also argue some of them are in the bar.
Yeah.
Now, 100%. There's also some shitbags in the bar.
And in church.
But there's, and in church, right? And so it's not mutually exclusive, for sure. Well, so skipping ahead, how did the Alone, how is it that you ended up on Alone, or Alone the Beast? Explain what's the difference? Alone and Alone the Beast, what is that?
Alone is it's 10 participants, but you're all put out absolutely alone, and you take 10 items with you. You can pick from a list. So it can be a knife, fire starter, it can be pemmican, it can be a tarp, whatever. You pick 10 items, you go out by yourself, and it's just last man standing. Alone the Beast was 30 days specifically, so you had a time limit, and then you had 3 participants put out together, but you had 0 tools. You couldn't bring anything. So you're with
2 other people?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not necessarily alone. You're with couple people.
Right. You're supposed to be a team. They give you a dead animal. Each episode was different. Some of them had an alligator and they were down south, and some of them had one of them got I can't think of the name of it, but they didn't get a moose. They were up there in the same area, and they got a
caribou or something.
No, it's with the giant, bulky. It didn't taste good.
Yeah.
Muskox.
Oh, okay.
Muskox, yeah. So different animal, but you get a dead animal, and there's 3 of you, and the goal is for you to use that animal for food and survive for 30 days with no tools, no knife, no nothing. You had your clothes on your back, but you couldn't use your clothes to even make a tool. You had to make everything from nature.
Did you just first meet those other 2 people like when you showed up, or did you have any idea who they were?
No, they didn't give you very much information, so I didn't even find out the general location of where I was going until about a month before I left.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I haven't even watched your episode. Like I started watching Alone a couple years ago. We don't watch a ton of TV, have a bunch of time, but somehow I missed the Alone the Beast part, and I just know you went on it, but I actually have no idea what that show looks like, who you were with, or whatever. So when I'm asking some of these questions, like I actually don't know.
That's refreshing, actually.
were you with guys, gals? Like what did that look like?
It was 2 guys. So one of them was a little bit older guy, and he was from Nevada, and then the other guy was from Colorado, and he was probably close to my age. Okay.
So back to how you got the opportunity to even go on. Like, what made you, I guess, apply for it, or did they reach out to you, or what did that look like?
I didn't apply for it. Like, I'm not somebody that ever wanted to be on TV. I don't care about that. Or especially reality TV. Like, I had no desire. Mm-hmm. But a friend of mine was involved in the actual Alone show. She was potentially going to be a participant, but they had reached out to her and asked her for recommendations for people, and she just gave them my name. Okay. And they sent me an Instagram DM, the casting director, and I just thought it was spam because I was like, this is weird. And then she told me, like, no, I gave him your name. And I was like, oh, okay. So I reached out to the gal, and she asked me to be on the regular Alone show, but it was the year that they were going to do 100 days. You had to stay 100 days.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, I have little kids. Like, I can't be gone that long. And she was like, well, we're going to do this spin-off series called Alone the Beast, and it's only 30 days. Would you be interested in that? And my mentor that I had growing up, he always told me, he's like, you got to do the things in life that you could regret not doing. Yeah. And I thought,
that's good advice.
There's potential that if I don't go do this, that I could regret it someday.
Was there a decent prize person involved in it too?
They didn't let us talk about that. There was compensation. Oh. But they really it was weird. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot with this show because it could have been really cool, but they didn't explain how different it is. They didn't put a lot out about it. And so people that were really fans of Alone were thrown off by this show and were not fans of it.
Okay.
And then a big draw for people with Alone is the fact that the winner gets a big prize at the end. And so it's like, that's their motivation. And people are like, well, what are these people's motivation? Like, why are they even out here?
Yeah, you're going to win $100,000, $500,000, $1 million.
Right. It's like, why are they here? Why would you go do this if there's no prize? So they don't let us talk about that. But
I will say that also helps the viewer at home is like, okay, I know you miss your wife and your kids.
Right.
But you're a broke ass dude in Idaho, and you could win $500K if you just tough it out another week. Like, exactly. So at home, it makes you think. Now I know it's not easy, but it makes you think at home when you're sitting on your couch. Like, what? Pretty sure I could put up with some more hunger for 5 more days if it meant I win $500,000.
Yes,
So you're right. The purse definitely plays into the mind of the viewer.
It's helpful for them. So they kind of. The way that they promoted this, their goal was like they really wanted to showcase primitive skills. That's why they did this spinoff. But just the way they went about it, like it kind of was a dud. Mm-hmm. But they asked me if I could do that, and I said yes because I felt like I might regret it if I don't. Mm-hmm. And they gave me about a month's notice of where I was going to go. So I did like a little bit of research. They required that we send in videos of us doing a few different primitive skills because they wanted
What year was this?
It was filmed in 2019 and then it aired right at the beginning of 2020.
Okay.
Right when COVID hit. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I brought it back actually on the plane with me. I think it was me. I think I was the super spreader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had to do some videos?
Yeah, I just did a few things. And then I kind of researched the flora and fauna of that area. So I was a little familiar with it before I went up there. And then
Where'd
I met.
You go?
It was Great Slave Lake, Northwest Territories.
Okay.
And I went up and met the 2 guys that I was going to be put out with. And the way the show works is the local tribe harvests the animal. So they had to hunt the moose. And we were supposed to go out pretty quick once we got there, but it took them over a week to get a moose on the ground. So our show got pushed out later than it was supposed to.
What time of year? September?
October.
October. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you got a moose.
Yeah.
All right. So did they just drop you off kind of on a lake shore and be like, here's your moose? And was it just kind of gutted out at that point? Was it laying there with a hide on it, kind of gutted, or?
No, it was just full moose dead.
Okay. Guts in it and everything. Mm-hmm. All right. So basically they kill, because there's a time frame there. So like when they killed that moose, they had to have been like,
so we were on standby for a week just waiting for that. And as soon as they knew they had one on the ground, then it was go. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So from that point, you meet these guys, I guess you're probably kind of hanging out in town or at a camp or a lodge or something while you're waiting. Did you get to know them a little bit at that point?
Yeah. So it was a wall tent set up like out on the shores where you had close access to the locations that people were being dropped. It was the same setup that the Alone participants were out at the same time.
Okay.
So it was their base camp basically. So wall tents, and then we each had our own individual little tent at night that we slept in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we did get to know each other. Played some card games with the one guy. Got to talk, which was nice. We had extra time for that because we were there for an extra week.
So when you got set out there, what was kind of the first thing that you guys did? Like, had you kind of developed a plan back at camp of like, okay, we're going to have this dead animal. Like, here's a few things that we should start with.
We weren't really supposed to do that, but yeah.
Obviously, you
You'd
be dumb if you didn't.
Yeah. So I had a lot of hunting background. That was kind of my thing. Zane, who was the younger guy too, he did as well. He's a guide in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And so we both kind of had that background. And then the other guy, Joe, he was more of a bushcrafter. Mm-hmm. And so our thought was Zane and I will kind of tackle the moose, and he was going to work on shelter because we were going to need some place to sleep. But the thing about up there is there's not a lot of daylight. Like, it's getting later in the year. You're way up north. We were only like 50 miles from the Arctic Circle. Mm-hmm. And it's like daylight's limited. And we don't have any source of light. We had no fire. We had no flashlights. So you're working with daylight.
And you take no items, correct?
Nothing.
So as far as starting a fire, like, did you try to build a bow drill?
So Zane started working on that once the moose got on the ground and we kind of spread out and started doing our things, I ended up focusing primarily on the moose. And Joe was working on shelter and Zane was working on fire. And I was hoping we'd have like decent nappable stones, some sort of obsidian or flint or something. But we had shale and granite pretty much. So it was time consuming and it was really hard. And my hands by the next day, just from gutting the moose, because all I could do.
And you're just using sharp rocks essentially to rip this thing apart.
It wasn't even sharp. It's like shale, you know?
Yeah.
The edge that you can get on shale, and the hide's really thick. And
yeah, getting it even open would be a challenge.
It was so time consuming. You put so much effort into making it a half an inch. And I was able to end up getting it opened up enough and get the guts out of it so we could get it cooled before dark. That was all I could do on the first day. It took me that much time.
Yeah. And I know my son shot a moose last year. I mean, those moose are enormous. Like, you're not rolling around, pulling them around. I mean, they're just huge bodied animals.
Big animals.
It's a challenge.
Yeah. And honestly, out of the whole show, like from everything that I did, that was my biggest accomplishment. The thing I felt the best about was working that moose up entirely with a piece of shale.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was a job.
Yeah, your hands would be cramping and
they were the next day, like they just didn't work quite right because they were just so fatigued from pulling so hard, because you have to pull hard on the hide just to get enough tension for a piece of shale to do any damage whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge, but Zane worked on fire, but we weren't able to get fire. I cut him a strip of the moose hide and like rubbed the hair off of it on a tree so that he had some sort of rope to use. But a bow drill setup was not very feasible. So he ended up doing an old method that I'd never seen before. It was really cool. He held the bearing block in his teeth and pushed down with his head facing down, wrapped the hide around it and kept it taut and just ran it with his hands. It was really interesting. And at different times, like he worked on this for one of the days over 7 hours trying to get a fire. And he would hold the bearing block down, and then Joe and I would hold one end of the strand and we'd run it that way. But up there where everything grows super slow, the rings on any kind of wood are super tight together.
Yep.
And you're relying on that soft ring to get your ember.
Yep.
And there's just not much there. So it's really, really hard to get. And he spent 3 days working on it before he finally got it.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet you guys threw a party. When
we were so excited because that meant, well, it was just me and him at that point. But
what happened to the other guy?
So Joe ended up, he got a cold. He was kind of coughing when we first got out there. And he ended up tapping on day 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was gone.
Day 3. Mm-hmm. It boggles my mind because also just from a pride standpoint, I know people are going to watch me.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to be
100%.
that guy that gives up 3 days in. I can do about anything for 3 days.
You can do anything for 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So it was just the two of you. So you lost, 30% of your help.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. So the two of you got the fire going.
He was the one that got the fire.
Yeah.
He was the one that got the fire going.
And
the
then
next
at that
day,
point,
I
you just didn't let it go out.
I kept it going the whole time.
Yeah. Now,
let it go
harvesting wood is also a challenge when you have a fire in the woods. Getting big enough chunks of wood to sustain a fire, because if you just throw branches and stuff on it, you're going to be doing that every 15 minutes.
Well, not only that, but if you're keeping a fire burning 24 hours a day, you're gathering firewood from what you can get close to you. That just gets
spreads
farther
out
and farther apart. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So. And you're going out looking for something that's loose that you can actually pull out and carry. That's big enough to sustain fire, so you don't have to go do it again in 10 minutes.
Yeah. The nice thing about having a fire for that length of time, though, is you get a hella bed of coals.
Yeah.
So by the time, like at the end when I had a fire, I could let it burn out. It could be out for overnight.
Yeah.
And I stir it up
and blow
and
on
start
it.
it the next morning, and it's fine because it had such heat in the ground.
Did you have a ton of rain?
Snow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, snow.
What'd you guys build for a shelter? Did you use the moose hide?
I ended up using the moose hide. So the first shelter, there had to be 2 different shelters by the end. It's complicated, but the one that Joe built originally was like a tree well shelter. So there was a big fir tree there, and he just built up around it and kind of cleared out the inside because we had to have a big shelter for 3 people. So that worked pretty well at first. But so Zane ended up leaving on day 8. So then it was just me.
8 days in, you were by yourself?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And
Why did he leave?
It's complicated, but partially work, partially family.
Oh, wow.
A little different, yeah. But he, once the snow really started.
I mean, did he have some connection to the outside to know?
No,
there
he
were
just.
family issues or?
No, he had little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's just missing them.
Missing them, and then because our season got extended, like because it was a week later, it was going to work into his guiding season. And that's his big money maker.
Right.
So he was just in a conundrum, at odds with what he wanted to do.
Yep.
So yeah, he just ended up going home.
Okay. So 8 days in, you're by yourself. What's your goal? I mean, you got 22 days left. Is it just basically to stave off starvation and just survive, or what was your mindset?
It was pretty much just like, I have a goal. I want to be here for 30 days. These are the things that I need to be here for 30 days. So just plug it out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So you used the moose hide for some of your shelter?
I eventually did, because the snow was coming down pretty good. So I think we had solid snow on the ground from I don't remember the first day it started. We had 3 or 4 days with no snow. And then from then on, it was just snow.
Really?
And so it started to build up on the shelter, and it was leaking in because I had my fire, and the heat would go in and then it would melt. And it didn't matter how thick I got it, it still was seeping in. So I ended up pulling that side of the shelter apart and putting a piece of the moose hide in there.
Yep.
And then that kept me dry, which was good.
Yeah. I mean, a moose is a lot of meat, especially for one chick. Mm-hmm. So you've got plenty of food. Yeah. Did you utilize much of the guts or any of the other part of the moose? Did you use a bladder for carrying water or something like that? What parts of the moose did you use?
I used the bladder for a little while for carrying water, but then it froze.
Oh.
I used the stomach to do a hot rock boil at one point for Joe before he left. We tried to make him a Labrador tea because he was not feeling good. But for the most part, we built a smoker setup, and I worked on the quarters. So I got the whole thing quartered out. We got all the quarters stashed, and I just started working on the quarters and cutting strips and smoking meat, which ended up being a really good thing because I had to move my camp because of a bear. And I didn't want to move my camp, but...
Well, how far did you move your camp? Because a bear's territory is pretty big.
It was a couple miles.
Really? You had to move all your stuff?
Well, I didn't have much stuff.
Was it a grizzly bear?
No, it was a big black bear. And I really wasn't worried about it. He came in and he was on the carcass, which I didn't care about because at that point I'd already gotten everything I wanted off of it. Yeah. And I had my quarters stashed in the trees. And
so, yeah, you two could have just made an agreement.
Right. That's what I thought. I was like, well, maybe we can be friends and he can cozy in here and keep me warm because it's cold. But
your husband would have been just fine with that.
Yeah.
Snuggle with a bear. Yeah.
Bring it home. Made a new pet. He likes dogs. It's just a big dog.
So did he start to bother you? Did he start to...
He kept getting more and more comfortable. Yeah. And I woke up one night and he was just on the other side of my fire. I had all my fat. I had gathered all the fat and I was rendering it out to use to try to keep weight on and to use it as chapstick because my lips were just so dry. And he was laying on the other side of the fire just eating my fat pile. And, as soon as I got up, because I went to shove myself into my shelter a little further and he saw movement and he booked it, but he was just getting more and more comfortable. And I didn't want to go. I really wasn't that worried about it, but the production team and the producers are they have to worry about red tape.
Right.
They have to worry about regulations and game stuff. And, they're guests in this landscape. So for them, the potential for an issue was not going to work for them.
Did they help move your stuff?
No.
Oh, they wouldn't, huh? I thought they might have been okay, pause, load everything up. We're going to drop you off here and then rebuild.
No, they actually did it in the worst possible way. It was the most angry I got the entire time because I had a sweet setup. I had a smoker. I had a shelter that was dry. My fire was awesome. I had a great cooking area. I had it was set up.
Yeah, you're camping at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like real comfortable. And they were like, we need you to move. And I'm like, and so because it's a big transition point in the episode, it's like they got to cover it well because they want to be able to show it. So that means not only did I have to move, I had to move over and over again because they had to get it with the slow-mo camera and they had to get
were they filming?
They filmed this. So it was not like Alone.
Alone self-films.
Alone's only self-filmed.
Yep.
But I did self-filming and there would be a camera crew that would come out different days and get different things. They'd come and do an interview.
So but being by yourself, that definitely helps, just seeing another human and interacting even in a little way.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't
just
really
being
supposed to
completely
interact
alone.
with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The camera crews and stuff, they weren't supposed to talk to me when they came out. They were just supposed to get different footage. But having interviews, obviously, then you're interacting with somebody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And just seeing another person at all is helpful mentally.
Honestly, I didn't like that they came.
Really?
No, I hated those days.
You like,
I wanted to be alone. It's like, just leave me alone. My favorite days were the days where nobody was around.
yeah.
They were the best.
Yeah.
They could have just left me alone. I would have been perfectly happy.
What was you pretty much answered. Then the most difficult part of that trip really was that first day or two dealing with the moose. Was there another, because you said that's probably the part you're the most proud of. I guess most proud of. What was the most difficult part, biggest challenge?
I think the day that I had to move was probably the most difficult because they forced me to leave this place that I had worked so hard to set up. And then they spent the entirety of the daylight hours making me redo stuff.
Yeah.
To get myself moved. Plus I had to do the move. And by the time I got there, I was losing light. I got my fire going and then they left me with
you would
no
have had
shelter.
to have hauled your coals.
I did.
Yeah.
And I had no shelter. I get to this place where like, okay, you're far enough. And find a spot where I can build a shelter, but now I'm out of daylight and I have no shelter.
Yeah.
And they just leave. And I'm like, so you made me leave my shelter, hike all of my stuff over here, use all this energy. I expended a lot of energy.
You had to carry your moose hide over there too.
I had to carry everything that I could. So all I took was the meat that I had smoked and dried because I counted it out and it was going to be enough for me to have 3 strips 3 times a day.
Yeah.
For the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So that's what I took.
Wow. That's wild. Well, so day 30 comes along. What was that like? Them coming out and congratulating you or whatever?
I was excited. I was like, I did it.
Yeah.
I felt really good.
Yeah.
Felt like
there had to have been a lot of self-gratitude with that. Be proud of yourself.
I felt like it was a cool thing to have accomplished. And I always believed I could do it or I wouldn't have went. Like I went out there and I always told myself, like, I'm going to finish it unless I get really injured or something and they pull me. I'm not leaving on my own because they won't let you die out there.
Right.
They're going to pull you.
I've seen, I don't know who it is. I think that chick's from Kalispell, but I mean, I saw a gal on Alone literally frostbiting her toes off and they had to pull her. I mean, she was not.
And they will.
And I've been impressed by the women mostly on that show. I think there's a mentality that a lot of, I mean, yes, there's some women that have gone on there and just flamed out right away. But I think in general, a lot of times women appreciate like their surroundings more and just like, oh, it's just a nice day out here today. And like, you can tell, like you'll get these guys that are super driven and super, motivated and gung ho. And then they think they're going to go out there and kill a moose in the first few days. Yeah. And then day 10 comes and they haven't killed a moose and they're mad, they're angry.
They're really discouraged.
Yeah, they're not. And then some gal walks out of her tent and she's like, "Oh, what a beautiful day."
It's a different mindset.
The birds are singing today, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that gal's going to outlast this guy because she's just like
mindset
enjoying her starvation.
Yeah. Mindset is everything out there. Like when I teach survival, I tell people like, yeah, skills are great. It's cool. If you can go light a fire with a bow drill, awesome. But like if your mind's not up to the task, you're not lasting a day.
Yeah.
It's mindset more. Skills are cool and learn some. They're helpful. But if your mind is weak,
Yeah.
Not going anywhere.
Well, it's that way on, especially I think for archery hunters, like for hunting. I was just on a goat hunt in Alaska, and the first couple of days were dedicated to my business partner Brandon. He got a goat with his rifle, kind of dealing with all that, right? So we're basically 3 days of the hunt, kind of gone there, and then now it's my turn with my bow. And then you're trying to get close to these goats. They live in tough country. The goats that we did find were laying on the snow, like in these big avalanche chutes, just because it was actually, the weather was hot.
So where are you going to get?
They're just laying in the middle of the snow. Like, yeah, you're not getting close. And so we kind of waiting on them. Right. And then we got an opportunity, and it was rushed. The goat knew we were there. We were kind of basically chasing around on the rocks. Got an opportunity at 20 yards, draw back, and right as I'm releasing my arrow, he takes off, right, and a miss, right? Yeah. And so he runs off, and there's that frustration, right? And whether it's like, it was weird in my mind because I knew I didn't just miss.
Right.
But you shot an arrow and it didn't hit where you wanted. So, like, in your mind, it's like, you missed.
Beating yourself up.
Yeah, but it's like, I knew exactly what happened. I mean, as my arrow's releasing, I'm seeing that goat taking off. And then you start to question, like, is this going to happen? And then the next morning we wake up, all the goats are gone.
Oh, no.
Right? Trying to find them again. And with archery hunting, you do have to just mentally stay in it. And with hunting in general, like, everything can just change in an instant, for the good or bad. And, mentally just kind of stayed with it, appreciated the country that we were in. And a couple days later, shot a goat at 37 yards, right? But I had an opportunity all day that day and the next day to just use a rifle. Right. I could have just pulled out a rifle and shot any number of goats at any point, basically. But it's like, nope, I'm going to stay in it.
I have this goal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the mental part is big, right? And then, trying to find a decent camp when you're camping up in the rocks with goats and getting comfortable. And just all the things, right? And you can think to yourself, well, I should just take a gun out and shoot this. My business is back at home. My kids are back at home. My wife, like all the things.
Start talking yourself out of your own goals.
But in reality, none of those people are really missing you that much. Like they miss you a little bit, but they're actually happy that you're out there.
Right.
And I see people on alone do this all the time. And I'm like, no, your wife at home is stoked that you're out there for you.
Well, not only that, you already spent all this time to get here.
Right. And money.
If you go back now, you wasted all of that.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
I guarantee you there's spouses that watch it that are like,
oh, I guarantee it.
What are you doing?
Why?
Like, also, you left $500,000. Like,
don't come home.
I miss you, but I really want $500,000. Like,
if my spouse was out there, I'd be like, don't you dare come home.
Yeah, especially if there's not, like, I do understand at a certain point, some people get to a starvation level where they just maybe mentally can't take it. But there's some very capable people with fat left on them.
Yeah. That just like, peace.
Yeah. I'm missing my kid's baseball game. It's like,
I couldn't live with that decision. Mm-hmm. It would feel so like, I knew going up there, I'm like, the only way I'm leaving early is if they pull me. Yeah. Because they will pull me if I'm bad enough.
Yeah, they're not going to let you die.
No.
Yeah. Did you fatten up to go up there?
I mean, I ate indiscriminately, but I didn't go up there super heavy or anything. And I lost 25 pounds in that 30 days.
Did you? Yeah.
With all the meat.
Yeah, because I've known some people have gone up and done that, and they try to definitely pack on some pounds before they go.
But I had meat. I had all that meat to eat, but your body can only process so much protein.
Yeah.
And your body is trying to regulate its temperature. You're getting firewood. You're active. So even having all that meat, I still lost 25 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you doing now? So the show was over. I see that you've done, have you done some trainings up in Alaska with people, like some teaching? Yeah. Who are you doing that with up there?
Well, I work with Tan and Grenda.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So the Grendas are awesome.
They are.
I always see them flying their planes around, and they're little girls and whatnot. I'm actually friends with Casey Richardson here, who's friends with them.
Addie and I are friends too.
Oh yeah, Adeline's awesome. She's
so
a
cool.
badass.
I have so much fun with her.
Yeah. Yeah, her and her hounds and whatnot. So I thought you were doing stuff with Grendas, but I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah.
Adam and Tana. So are you guys doing classes now? Can people sign up for those? What's that look like?
Yeah. So her and I started out, she's a health and fitness coach originally.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also a health and fitness coach before I went up on the show alone. And my dad watched her Stuck in the Rut show on YouTube. And he was like, this girl's cool. You should follow her. Bring it along. And so I followed her, and it was like a week later, she put up that she was hiring an assistant coach. And I was like, I would love that because I hate the business side of this. I could just work for her and coach people.
Yeah.
And then we hit it off. We were so similar in our mindset and the way we do things. And she was like, I really want to start retreats up here for women to be able to show them this kind of life and then build confidence in them, teach them things so they feel like they can go out on their own and do stuff. So that's where it started. We started doing the Alaska retreats, and we do those every year.
Is that like Bristol Bay
retreats? Well, it was. They changed it now into Grenda's Getaways because they're doing fishing trips now down in like Mexico and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. But originally it was Bristol Bay retreats, and we started in Alaska. We just did our 4th year of that this year. And then we branched out from that, and we're doing the Wild Women's Rendezvous down in southern Idaho. And it's mostly women instructors. Occasionally we'll have a guy teaching something, but mostly women instructors. Over 20 instructors come.
I think Jess Byers went down there.
She did.
Taught at that. Yep.
Yeah, she came down. We had a great time. I got to know her a little better down there. She's really cool.
Yeah.
But teach the girls everything there is to know about hunting. So there's long range shooting, archery, there's butchering. We do actual elk hunts. There's a ranch down there that we take them out on. They do elk hunts. They did a bison hunt. We teach them how to do in the field processing, quarter it up. Then we take it back. They learn butchering. Just everything you can think of. I teach survival skills there. I teach wilderness first aid. I teach wild game cooking. I taught hunt prep, like fitness related to hunting. And then I taught a predator preparedness and self-defense class down there this year. And then a friend of mine, while Gal used to coach, she came on one of the Alaska retreats. She started her own retreats in Ontario, Canada, where we go to Algonquin National Park and do a canoe trip in the backcountry and teach the same type of stuff on that trip. So I go do that. And then I also help, I'm going to help Addie with her women's bear hunt. So mostly like women's trips where we take women out, teach them things or take them hunting or those types of things. What I've been doing.
That's awesome. How do people that are listening to this sign up for that?
Well, anything that's related to Tana and Adam, it's just through Grenda's Getaways. So you follow them or go to their website. Chelsea Hansler, she's a houndswoman too. She's the one out of Ontario. Her trips are through Whiskey Creek Retreats, she calls it.
Okay.
And then Addie's stuff is all on Instagram.
Definitely not Chelsea Handler.
Nope.
The celebrity.
No.
I don't think she's much in the woods.
Chelsea Hansler.
Well, that's awesome. Can people reach out to you on your Instagram and just ask questions?
Yeah, for sure.
Like DM you or something?
Yep.
What's your Instagram?
Hunt Fiber.
Hunt Fiber. Just, that's it. No dashes or anything.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's awesome. And I think there's a lot of guys out there too with daughters who, I've heard some stories of people where they're like, yeah, I grew up, my dad hunted. I know one gal where she was like, my dad always hunted, but he always said that was just for the boys and took my brothers and never took me.
Oh, yeah.
But she was actually super interested. And I'm like, are you serious? Because I love it when my daughters go with me.
That happens to a lot of gals. A lot of these gals on these trips say that too. Like, I felt lucky growing up because my dad didn't do that.
Yeah.
He could have done that because he had a son, but he didn't. He took me. And that was hugely impactful on my life.
Yeah.
And there's so many gals that are like, I wanted to go, but they wouldn't take me.
Yeah.
So
Or wives that maybe are interested in it. Like I'm taking my wife to New Mexico with me on my elk hunt next week or leaving this weekend. It's a tag where, she doesn't have one, but I'm just taking her so she can have the experience of just being in and around bugling bulls like that. And there's a lot of elk down there. So we should have, a lot more opportunity than sometimes you get around here. It can be a lot more of a slog trying to get in on something here.
Yeah, sure. A lot of gals just want that. They want the experience. They don't even care so much if they are the ones with the tag in their pocket.
Yeah, yeah. And so I would encourage guys who might have either a daughter or, spouses that are interested that that they maybe talk to their spouses and see if they'd be interested in going and doing something like this.
Yeah. A lot of the gals that come, they love the confidence that they gain from it to be able to go out and do things on their own. But also, like, they learn, a lot of times women learn better from women.
Yeah.
Because the way that we think is very different. Men and women think differently. And so when you're teaching, it can get real frustrating. Like women say, I want to learn this from my husband. He's tried to teach me, but we just end up fighting.
Yeah.
So they like being able to come and learn from women because it's a little less high stress environment for them, a little less pressure, and they learn well.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming out and doing this. Hunt fiber, right? Do you have classes going on this fall?
We're just doing Addie's bear hunt here coming up in October. I think she ended up having an opening in there. So there is one slot available on the women's bear hunt.
And that's right here locally, like just over the hill in Idaho, right?
Yeah, it's over in Idaho in the Locksaw.
Yep. So, Adeline Richardson, she's a houndswoman here. Her dad's houndsman, awesome people.
Yeah, they're so cool. They're fun. Every time I hang out with Addie, it's a good time.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out and doing this. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoy authentic, good conversations. So.
Yeah, it was awesome. Well, thanks. Good luck this fall.
You too.
Have fun with your dad in the woods.
I will.
All right. Thanks.